Knobbelboy has officially come back with the milk. So as you might have heard by now, Knobbelboy very recently just gave the official third preview of Orochi, with some long-awaited progress on Culuc's redecoration of Platnuu's part, which is like the first half of the level. The preview showcases the first third of the level, the second third is presumably unfinished, and then the third is like Sephirox's part, so the other parts aren't probably finished right now. But Knobbelboy does say in the description that the level is now coming along better and faster than ever before, so it is probably likely that we will see a full preview of it within a few months, maybe towards the end of the year, or maybe even before that. Along with 2.2, this is like essentially a mythical thing that's been like years into the future that now seems possible to be released and finished off within the next year or so. But what makes this especially interesting is that Orochi has been significantly buffed, meaning it's probably going to be top 1 sometime in the future. So today I'm going to briefly go over my thoughts on the new decoration we've seen with the level, and what this will most likely mean for the demon list in the future. So the level starts off with some pretty juicy deco. Essentially it just takes Platnuu style and completely revamps it to make it better, but it still stays true to the original, which is something I really like about how this redeco is being handled. This stays consistent throughout what's been shown so far, and I'm a really big fan of that. It has basically a new modern take on the sort of 2018 style that the level was originally built in, with a space hell sort of theme. And of course the primary color being mostly orange instead of red, which is an absolute W. My favorite part that's been showcased so far is this part where it's got sort of like a ruined version of the huge pentagram that's seen throughout the level, which I just think is absolutely insane. And the revamped iconic Orochi text. Don't take this the wrong way, because I still think it is pretty good, but Iris's first part's probably my least favorite. I still think it's pretty good, I just think it kind of is a little bit off from the original, but it's not a big deal. I still like the part overall. This is some really nice decoration, and I'm glad to see that this level is getting the decoration that it deserves. This is probably one of the few upcoming top 1s that I actually am truly excited for, along with Ascension to Heaven, which we'll get into more about later. But it's really cool to see that after several years of silence, we finally get to see some of the new decoration, and from what it sounds like, that's all been happening very rapidly over the past few months, meaning that it will most likely release relatively soon. And by that I mean it'll enter verification stage within like a year or so. God knows how long this will take to verify. So what does this mean for the future of the demon list, considering it is meant to be buffed as a top 1? I will start by saying that pretty much every upcoming top 1 that actually does have a chance of becoming a top 1 has a chance because their respective hosts will do anything necessary to make it top 1. These levels include Vehemence by Yuko and more, Eternal by Riot and more, the aforementioned Orochi of course, and to some extent Banshee, however I don't think this will end up being buffed. Ascension to Heaven could also go down this path, but it's also possible it will be made top 3, however it's probably more likely it'll end up being a top 1, or at least trying to be top 1. Meanwhile, Grief is going to be nerfed, so that's probably out of the picture at this point. And levels like Azure Flare and Death Corridor are so far into the future, it doesn't really factor in here. So essentially our list of upcoming top 1s will most likely be Banshee, Eternal, Orochi, and Ascension to Heaven. Remember, we only think Banshee is extremely hard because of Space UK, which he could totally be bullshitting, like we really don't know how hard Banshee actually is. But even if it does get verified as a top 1, it just means every other contender in this race is gonna have to just be buffed, considering that's kind of what the meta is now. Because that's the only way you can really have a top 1 at this point, is if you just keep buffing it past any other levels that are being verified. My guess is Vehemence will also factor in some way, but honestly I think it will end up just being buffed over and over again depending on which level is top 1 at the time, until it actually is verified. I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume that Zoink is probably the verifier for Eternal, so that's probably gonna get verified before Ascension to Heaven or Orochi, considering both of those levels still need to be finished in terms of decoration, and the styles for both of those levels take a lot more time than the style for Eternal. So my prediction is it will come down between Ascension to Heaven and Orochi. And at that point, I'm assuming both of them will be top 1 at one point, because one of them will get verified before the other, and then the other level will just be buffed. But the main effect I think Orochi will have on the demon list more short term is that it will build more hype around it. Orochi is a very well known and well received level within the GD community because it's been around for so long. It's a lot easier to pull off the legendary Hell Extreme Demon card when you actually put effort into it and it's been around for a long time. On top of this, Knob is most likely not going to verify the level. It's possible that it will end up being a verification race, but this isn't completely set in stone, which means it's not going to take like 50 years for this to get verified. What I'm saying is that because it's been hyped up for so long, and because the verifier is probably going to be someone who's more skilled than Knobbelboy who can get it out faster, my guess is that the hype around the situation will mirror that of Bloodlust, because even with the best players we currently have in the game, A level of this difficulty is going to take a hot second to verify. I would personally prefer if it was just given to one single verifier because it builds hype better. Usually verification races are just kind of sad because everyone puts a lot of work into it and then only one person gets the recognition. But overall, I think this level will build a ton of hype for the Demon List again. Even after there's been a huge dip in interest with Space Kid getting exposed for hacking and generally the quality of the upcoming extreme demons in the top 20 getting worse and worse. So I do think overall this preview is a really good sign for the community, especially the community around the Demon List. A level that's been hyped up for so long finally getting finished and eventually verified. While it would be really cool to see like a Ultimate Heaven level in Ascension to Heaven and the Ultimate Hell level in Orochi go head to head in a verification race between the two levels, Denny verifying Ascension to Heaven and whoever decides to verify Orochi, we don't know yet. I'm not sure if that's the most likely possibility, even if I want it to be. Regardless, I think Orochi coming into play will overall mean that every other upcoming top 1 will probably end up being buffed to try to outdo Orochi, and everyone's just going to try to outdo each other in terms of difficulty, and it will bring more hype back to the Demon List. I'm personally very excited for this because Orochi has been probably one of my favorite upcoming levels for like multiple years. To put this in perspective, the first preview of Orochi was released on April 23rd, 2018. That was over half a decade ago. I made a video over a year ago about how the level was kind of dead, and between the making of that video and yesterday, we got pretty much no news about it. So it is really cool to see that this level is finally making a comeback, and maybe it will be one of the best top 1s that we get. Perhaps even our final top 1. That's a joke, as Earthflare exists. In terms of my recommendations for the level or how it could slightly improve, I think that the rest of the level should try to match the style that the first third is in. I am talking, of course, about the parts that haven't been actually decorated yet, but I'm also talking about Zephyrox's part. Zephyrox's deco style is slightly different to how the rest of the level looks, so I think it would be very jarring to just suddenly switch to that style right after a whole bunch of Culuc and CD music stuff. So my hope is that Culuc or CD Music or someone just sort of goes through Zephyrox's part and makes some modifications and some changes. I'm not saying the decoration needs to be replaced because I do think that we should try to maintain a lot of the old stuff that's in Orochi. Because of how iconic it is, at least maintain the same style. But some upgrades definitely wouldn't hurt the level. So yeah, overall, I'm very happy to see that Orochi is finally back and Knobbelboy came back with the milk. And my prediction is that it will have very good effects on the community and Demon List will end up getting more hype because of it, which is cool. I still think this song literally just sounds like the girls in the back of the class whenever the lights flicker for like 0.1 seconds. It's kind of like Slaughterhouse in that the actual song I don't even think is very good, but it does fit very well with the level. No offense if this song is like on your playlist or something. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video and you would like to see more like it, please like and subscribe, and while you're down there, leave a comment about your thoughts on Orochi and its new preview. Also, to the people who are like waiting for the 10k Q&A, I swear I'm gonna get it out like before the end of the month. I've just been kind of procrastinating it, I'm gonna be honest. I'll also be doing the sequel to Touching Grass in the same video, which is Touching Sand. Maybe someday I'll have the skill to finish off the trilogy. But yeah, that's all. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.